Seed cycling is a simple, affordable, and delicious way to balance your hormones. So, no matter which life stage you're at, whether you are a person with a uterus who still bleeds, maybe you're no longer bleeding due to menopause, amenorrhea, or from a hysterectomy, seed cycling is a really simple way to add a ritual into your lifestyle that's going to help regulate your hormones and allow you to feel your best any time of the month. My name is Amy, and I'm a holistic nutritionist, a human design reader, Ayurvedic practitioner, and yogini who's on a mission to support you in becoming your own healer. What you're about to watch and listen to is part of a presentation that I did inside of one of my plant-based nutrition courses, and I hope you enjoy. This is a pretty high level and in-depth overview on what seed cycling is, as well as some information about women's hormonal health. Now, this is not just for women who menstruate. This is a really important conversation, and some of this might be new information for you, some of this might be repeat. However, it's so important to understand how we work. Today, we're going to be talking about what seed cycling is, as well as who it is actually for. I'm going to teach you about identifying hormonal imbalance as well as teaching you some hormone stabilizing practices. We're going to get a little bit into the nutrition of the seeds. I'm also going to dive a little into the Ayurvedic perspective on seed cycling. And then, most importantly, how to do this because it is so important to incorporate this to your daily routine. And I'm going to teach you some tricks on how. Seed cycling is not new. However, it's been recently brought back from our ancestors and into the mainstream. The origins are a little bit iffy, though it does seem to stem vaguely from traditional Chinese medicine, which they used different seeds, and those seeds were used to treat male infertility. So essentially, this has been revamped and brought back to modern day women by the naturopathic community. Regardless of the origins, this hormone supporting practice is one of the top trending wellness practices today, and for a very good reason because more and more women are struggling with hormonal imbalances. This very simple yet very powerful practice supports balanced hormone levels, reduces PMS symptoms, symptoms of menopause. It can help boost fertility, and it can even help to stimulate menstruation if it's missing, which is called amenorrhea. So, what is seed cycling then, Amy? Great question. Seed cycling is the practice of eating specific seeds during these two main phases of your cycle, your follicular and your luteal phase. And this is going to help promote a healthy balance of both estrogen and flax and pumpkin seeds are used during your follicular phase. They promote ovulation. And the sesame and sunflower seeds help to boost progesterone in the luteal phase. The seeds are high in essential fatty acids, EFAs, which are both very necessary for hormone production. So the seeds can also be helpful in binding and eliminating excess hormones. This is really cool. So they both boost and eliminate excess. The seeds are helping to balance hormones, depending on if you have too much or too little. Seed cycling can be used at any stage of a woman's life, including postmenopause. Now, it is especially beneficial when you're coming off hormonal birth control or struggling with post birth control symptoms like acne, irregular periods, or missing periods or PMS. From an Ayurvedic perspective, hormonal issues are related to the imbalance of vata dosha. And as we know, menopause is when women enter into a new stage of their lives, a stage that is more vata centric. Outside of the life stages, there is most likely irregularity in eating times, working times, or sleep patterns present. So remember this: irregular lifestyle, irregular cycle. This means that your lifestyle habits are very important alongside a very clean diet. Seed cycling is one piece of the puzzle, not a cure all. And the habit of eating them daily is part of that consistency that vatas so desperately need in order to thrive and rebalance. Now, you already know this, though it's worth mentioning again, stronger Agni will also play a role here. So the seeds can be vata aggravating when Agni is weak. So when your digestive fire is weak, they can actually make vata a little more worse. So if you want to actually absorb the beneficial nutrients of the seeds, especially if they're going to be raw, you need to have very strong Agni. You might be wondering how to know when you're in each of these phases, your follicular and your luteal phase. And like I mentioned before, I definitely recommend tracking your cycle. I use a free app called Clue, and I'll leave the link just below this video if you haven't downloaded it yet. It's wonderful. It's pretty accurate. It's always able to predict when I'm going to have my period, and it's just a really great way to mark down how you're feeling every day. And there are other methods for a more precise reading, like your basal body temperature, which is called BBT tracking. However, that takes a little more commitment and tools. So, for those of us who want a quick and clean way of tracking, I would recommend going for an app like Clue. In a typical seed cycling protocol, you're going to eat 2 tablespoons of ground seeds every day. Ideally, they're going to be raw seeds because that is the best as far as nutrients go. And especially for the flax and sesame, you want them to be ground. So you can simply use a coffee or a spice grinder to grind the seeds. I will usually grind about 1 cup at a time, and I'll keep them in a jar in my fridge or freezer. I like to keep them in the freezer. You can also enjoy them in bliss balls every 4 weeks. You can just go ahead and make yourself, 14 to 28 bliss balls of both luteal and follicular phase bliss balls. And then you always have some on hand that you can munch on every day. There are also some really other great recipes out there in the world. If you are still menstruating, you're going to start phase one, which is pumpkin and flax, the follicular phase, on the first day of your blood. And then you're going to switch to sesame and sunflower seeds, the luteal phase, 14 days after your blood on day 14. Remember how I mentioned earlier? You might not remember. I said that certain seeds are going to help to lengthen the luteal phase. So, for those of you who have like a 23-day long cycle, for instance, this seed cycling may help to lengthen that second phase and give you a little bit more time before your next blood. For those of you who have a longer luteal phase, that's okay. It also may help to shorten that luteal phase. So there's no one size fits all answer to how this works because all of us are built differently. So trying this out is going to be really important. All this means is that from the first day of your blood until day 14, you're going to be eating pumpkin and flax seeds, 1 tablespoon of each, ground up and raw. And then from day 14 until your next blood, sesame and sunflower, raw and ground. If you are no longer menstruating because of amenorrhea, birth control, menopause, or any other reason, you're going to go with the moon. Okay, so basically, you're going to start phase one on the new moon and phase two on the full moon. Howling is optional. And a little reminder that I've included in the cheat sheet at the end of this lesson and also below the video for you to download in case you're a little lost, okay? There's a little reminder on how to remember which is which is which is which. So don't stress if you're like, but I can't remember this right now. You can also mark your calendar. If you're not menstruating, go ahead, mark your calendar now, okay? Incorporating seed cycling into your daily routine really could not be easier. You can just sprinkle it on anything. Purists are going to insist that the seeds are raw and freshly ground. And of course, chewing really well does count as grinding. I'm all about sustainability. So if you pre grind them a month in advance, at least you're getting it in, girl. At least you're getting it in. So if you don't want to freshly grind them every day, do about a month at a time. Now, some creative ways to use your seed cycling in your food. Now, I like to top my morning chia pudding with ground seeds. You can throw them into a smoothie. You can top your oatmeal. You can sprinkle them onto a vegetable. You can do pretty much anything with them. So here's a couple examples here. You can add them to smoothies, to your dairy-free yogurt. chia pudding, oatmeal. You can sprinkle them on toast with avocado would be really nice. You could make a little sandwich and put a few ground seeds in the avocado or in your, vegan mayo, your vegan cashew mayo and mix it up. It'll give it a little texture, but that's okay. Add them to your vegetables, your salads, your curries, and your soups. You can make pesto with pumpkin and flax seeds. You can make bliss balls or bars or granola. You can make seed butter, etc. Even if you buy a really nice natural seed butter, that works too. A little bit of FAQ, frequently asked questions. First of all, how long does it take to actually see results? Like all plant medicine, seed cycling is going to take time to work with your body. It can take at least 3 months of daily use to start noticing the benefits. However, I myself have seen results within a week of starting seed cycling. And also, a couple of my friends who eat a pretty clean diet as well noticed within a very short time. It all depends on how clean your diet is and also how stable your habits are prior to beginning seed cycling. So, keeping a journal to track your symptoms throughout the month is going to help you identify the shifts that are happening. And sometimes they might be subtle. This is why tracking is so important. And you might be wondering, do I have to stick with this for life? The truth is, girl, that's up to you. Seed cycling is a very easy and gentle way to naturally support your hormone balance. And you may want to consider it, right? It might feel daunting to think about doing this forever. So once you get into the habit, remember that it's going to become like a second nature. Again, if that still feels daunting, I recommend just taking it month by month. Making a monthly goal to seed cycle is going to feel a lot more manageable for you. So, tracking your cycle, this is, like I said, so important. Probably going to say it a couple more times. Track your cycle. While you can follow the moon phases, right, it's best to rotate the seeds with your unique cycle. And in order to do this, you need to track your cycle. In fact, this is important to do regardless of whether you're seed cycling and regardless of whether or not you have a period, or even if you're a woman. Doesn't matter. Everyone can do well to be more in tune with their bodies. Grinding your seeds. So you can use a coffee or a spice grinder or a high powered blender and grind them into a fine powder if possible, especially the flax and the sesame seeds. Okay. This is going to help your body digest them better. And that being said, if you're not able to grind them, it's okay. Just make sure you chew the heck out of them. I would much rather you incorporate them one way or another. The only exception really is flax seeds. Your body cannot break down flax seeds and absorb them when they're whole. So I actually will buy flax meal, which is pre ground flax seeds, just to make this much easier on myself. You want to use raw. It's best to use raw, unroasted, unsalted whenever possible because they're going to have all of the nutrients intact and nothing was lost in the process of roasting. And also, you want to make sure that you're using organic seeds whenever possible. This is going to reduce pesticide exposure, which can actually contribute to disrupting hormones. And if your seeds are raw and they're causing you digestive problems, you can always activate them by soaking or sprouting them. You can just review your soaking sprouting charts from the previous lesson on that. So, storing your seeds. So, the polyunsaturated fats, essentially the fats that are found in these seeds, can oxidize and go rancid very quickly, especially if they're exposed to sunlight and hot or warm temperatures. So, keep the seeds once they're ground, and even before they're ground, keep them in a dark place like a fridge or freezer to keep them fresh for longer. You want to prioritize um, hormone balance. Remember that seed cycling is not your cure all. Hormone imbalances are often results of digestive issues, blood sugar imbalances, stress, lack of dietary fat and protein. I'm going to say that again. Hormone imbalances are often due to a lack of dietary fat and protein. So if you're afraid of fat, this is your call to action. Lack of sleep, chemicals, and non organic foods like pesticides and sprays, and environmental toxins. So, like your cleaning and skincare products, for instance. You cannot expect seed cycling to give you a boost without prioritizing good sleep, managing your stress, eating well, staying hydrated, and limiting your exposure to hormone disrupting toxins. In truth, there is, like I said, little scientific research that's supporting the relationship with seed cycling and hormonal balancing in women. However, just because there have not yet been studies done on this practice, it doesn't mean that it's not working. Like I said, in my own world and in the world of other people, other women that I've suggested this to, we've all seen, 100% of the women have all seen changes. It is so important to keep an open mind with nutrition and natural healing practices since there are limitations in research and lack of studies on specific topics. I always like to refer back to our ancestors whenever I'm questioning something. They happened to be a lot more in tune with the rhythms of nature, and they did not always need scientific proof to know what worked, right? When we look at nature, we can see that there is divine perfection that she exhibits. When we allow ourselves to align with those rhythms, that knowing becomes intrinsic and unshakable. So there is a little cheat sheet that I was telling you about before. I'm just going to go ahead and show you. A final note here is that if you're unable to eat, let's say sunflower, for instance, you can simply double up on the sesame seeds during that phase. So in total, you want to have 2 tablespoons of at least one of the seeds or 1 tablespoon of each of the seeds every day during the phase. So follicular phase and luteal phase, again, there's a little downloadable below here for you. I'm not going to read through this for you because you already know, girl, but I am going to give you my little trick. Now, I have a very unique way of learning rooted in rhythmic patterns. So if this helps, then great. And if it doesn't help, you can just find your own pattern that works for you too. That's okay. So, my little trick for remembering: new moon, new phase, or the first moon, follicular phase. It's alliteration, right? And then the first follicular phase is flax and fun pumpkins. So it's a lot of F's. And you always want to start the first phase on the new moon. And then full moon is the luteal phase. So the second phase is sassy sunflowers and sesames. So again, alliteration. I find that really works for me. Hopefully that works for you too. First and foremost, you're going to download a tracking app. If you're not already using one, you're going to track, and be diligent about this, okay? You don't have to track every day, just to be clear. I usually just track when I'm having symptoms. And for those of you who no longer menstruate, please go mark your calendar with the moon phases. Google Calendar makes it really easy. They have a function where you can actually add the lunar phase calendar in there, and it automatically tells you when the moon is shifting. Finally, make this as easy as possible. Consistency is key. Doing these things once in a while is not going to give you the results that you want. To make it easier on yourself, make bliss balls once a month. Set your calendar on the new moon every month. Make yourself a batch of 1 month of bliss balls, or pre-grind a batch of seeds a month's worth. Put sticky notes on your meal prep containers saying, remember the seed cycle, or luteal phase, or follicular phase. Put them on your bathroom mirror. Do what you got to do. Find an accountability buddy. Whatever you do, be consistent with this. And I promise you are going to start to feel and see results. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. If you have any questions or if you'd like to add to this conversation, you can go right ahead and leave it in the comments section below. I do my best to get to as many questions in there as possible. And if you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up. Same thing if you did not like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. This feedback is really supportive for me in making sure I'm making the right type of content for you. And if you like this content, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Again, that's a really great way that you can support me, and then I can support you by delivering more supportive content in the realm of holistic nutrition.